Hello, Doug Walker here from the Olson Condo Association. I'd like to introduce Patrick, fellow board member, and he's our treasurer, Patrick Buckley. Hello.
Hi, and I was going to give everybody a quick update on where we are so far on the elevator. We've met now with 3 companies, but we met with one of the companies twice. We got a quote from them and then had them come back and we did a requote. We feel confident about one of the 3 companies' price and their ability to do the job, because they took us to a building right over on 71st that has the identical elevator in that building, and rather than replace that elevator, they did what's called modernization of the elevator, where they keep a lot of the components that can be updated and they just replace the things that are needed. And they said to me that that should give us easily another 40 years of service. So it sounds like a good option. That option is working out to be about $77,000. So that's one of the things we have on our plate right now, but we can't start that work until we have an answer back from Alfredo Quintero, our structural engineer, to tell us what the work inside of the shaft, the concrete repairs, will take. And until that is done, we can't start the elevator work. So that's where we are so far on the elevators.
And we had three different quotes. Patrick met with 3 companies. Our current provider came back with a quote of
It was around $200,000.
Around $220,000. They did a requote and lowered that price to about $150. And then we got another quote from another company, which was at what?
I think it was around $150.
Around $150 as well. So the company that we liked a lot, who took us over and showed us the work they've already done down the street, they happened to be the cheapest. But also, if we had to compare, that's probably the one we would go with anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't just because they were cheapest, it was the fact that they were able to take us over and show us an actual elevator that's identical to ours that they just finished modernizing, and it raised our confidence level about dealing with them.
And as far as the time frame to install the new elevator, we'll call it a new elevator for all, because that's what it's going to look like. The guy said about 4 weeks.
He said it's a 4-week job approximately. The only thing we don't know for sure is when you add to it pulling the permits and then having the permits close, I don't know exactly how much additional time that would add to it, but we have to factor that in as well.
And factor in the concrete repair in the elevator shaft, which is probably going to be a few weeks of work at least.
Exactly.
Coordinating, and they have to work with the elevator company and set up scaffolding. So unfortunately, the elevator is most likely going to be out of service, in a nutshell, for the next foreseeable few months at least.
Yeah, at least a couple of months, only because not only do all of these things need to happen, but obviously we need to put together an assessment that's going to help us initiate the work.
So for our Christmas guests, everybody's doing Airbnb, I would strongly suggest you put in your amenities section that there is an elevator and it is out of service, and it may be out of service when you get here. That's my recommendation. That's it for the elevator update. Thank you. We're in the process of putting the budget together for next year, and I'll have Patrick will talk to you a little bit about that.
So our budget's always been relatively simple. We're not a very large and elaborate condominium. We run somewhere between that 11 and 13,000 a month range of expenses, and we bring in somewhere close to 12. So we've always been pretty tight, pretty close to break even. That's just the way we've run it. We've also been very diligent about keeping our expenses low so that we could avoid raising our monthly maintenance. We've done that for a long time. Just our last effort, as an example, we were chasing water usage, and we literally had water bills that were over $4,000 for a while. We found a leak inside of the restaurant use lobby bathroom. We fixed that leak, and we've got our water bills back down to that $2,000 mark. 2,400, 2,500. So anyway, it's an ongoing effort. We have prepared a preliminary budget that we submitted to Urban a few weeks ago. Once that budget is a little closer to being solid, that'll go out to the owners, I guess, at our meeting on November 30th, which is primarily a budget meeting.
We'd like to tell you a little bit about there's a leak that's been in the restaurant for 20 years at least.
At least 20 years it's been a leak.
So the previous restaurant owner was actually president of the association for a while and owned the unit above the restaurant, but somehow the leak still didn't get fixed, and it's been a problem since Ronnie bought the restaurant. What we've done to try to remedy that is we redid the whole balcony. First we flooded the balcony with water, closed the vents, flooded the balcony, running downstairs to see if there's any water coming in. We never saw water coming in, but we took up the tiles anyway and resurfaced and water sealed the whole balcony. That seemed to help for a little bit, but then the leak came back. So most recently we hired a leak company. Patrick, will you talk about that?
So we hired a company that was referred to us by the management company, by Urban. The name of that company was Titan. They're supposedly leak professionals. They essentially guaranteed us to find the leak in less than an hour. They came out with some infrared devices as well as an electronic probe that they probe a surface with, like they stick it into sheetrock, and they're able to determine the water content behind that sheetrock. So we went up into the ceiling of Ronnie's restaurant, looking around. We found everything up there dry. We started going to the apartments above the restaurant, checking all the walls. They narrowed it down to apartment 301, which is the top middle apartment of the Olsen over the restaurant. And they told us that wall had a 97% reading, which was almost 100, which was a high reading of moisture. And they said that's where the leak is. The leak is in that wall. So we pulled that wall apart, tore it completely off, all the sheetrock off of the concrete, and we found bone dry concrete. There was evidence of water, but you could tell it was very old. Maybe over a year ago there was water, maybe even 2 or more years. So we have since paid to put that wall back together. It's been a challenge for us. We've done a lot of things and spent thousands of dollars and a lot of time trying to find that leak in Ronnie's restaurant. But,
however, after we did the repairs, it happened to be raining that same day. This was a couple of days ago. There was flood advisories on the beach, 24 hours of nonstop rain, and Patrick went in the restaurant, right?
Right. So we had 4 inches of rain that day. The National Weather Service issued a flood advisory. I used that opportunity to go downstairs right around 11 o'clock and went into the restaurant and asked them if there were any leaks. The young lady working there said no, the wall was damp, but I wiped it up. So we looked at that wall. The wall was dry. We had Anthony come over from Urban Management. He looked at it himself. He saw a dry wall. We didn't see any evidence of leaks. There was no water on the floor, no water on the walls. So I don't know what to say about that.
So what we have done, what the board has done for the past 20 years, even when the owner of the restaurant was on the board and president, basically just repair when there's evidence of leak. It could be some moisture wicking down, slowly deteriorating that one area. So it's our suggestion that we just repair that part of the restaurant where there's evidence of water damage. And if we have to repair that every couple of years, that's fine. We'll pay the price, we'll repair it ourselves, and that's it. That's the way it's been for the last 20 years. I remember George, one of the owners, told me, "Oh, that leak was there 30 years ago, like when they were on the board." So there's this one leak. It must be a default in the way the building is put together. The water ends up right in that one spot. So anyway, that's our update on Ronnie's leak.